Thanks for staying with us. So joining us on the show is Mrs. Adebisi Adelabo, the General Manager, Lagos State Parking Authority. She'll be discussing facts about the Lagos State Parking Authority and new parking policy. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you very much, ladies.
So before we get into your job and what you do, what are your thoughts on this gender bill? What happened? And how do you think we can get more women involved in leadership positions like you have?
I think, first of all, like you've rightly said, is having the right leadership that are willing to embrace the gender equality thing. Luckily for us, I think Lagos is a very cosmopolitan city, so women find it easier to get into it. But that's not to say it doesn't come with its challenges. It's probably just easier in Lagos. But somebody made a point here and was like, we need to start from the grassroots. Those meetings in the Hilton, at the Marriott, that's not it. It's the Makoko markets, the Ereko markets, those places. That's where we start from. Let them know their power. Once you know your power, the power of your vote, then people start to take you seriously. Because what you do by having that power to vote and exercising it is you're saying, I know my worth, I know what I can do with it, and I'm only going to step up for people that I know will represent me fairly. That's what I think we should do.
All right, so Lagos parking. When I saw this, I'm like, we know they do it in New York, I don't know much about UK, but you can hardly park in New York because they're always asking you to pay, you have to put on the meters. What are you thinking? I hope you're not trying to bring New York to Lagos.
Not exactly.
Okay,
no.
so what is the plan for parking in Lagos State?
So the governor, first of all, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu felt there was a need to solve traffic problem. A big part of traffic in Lagos is parking. Parking congestion, trying to find a place to park, illegal parking. And how do we solve that? So he decided that it's best to come up with an authority whose core function is to regulate and enforce all forms of parking across the state. And that's what, in essence, we're trying to do. So we started last year, late last year, and we sort of took time to look at how best to deal with this problem. The first thing is that we need to let Lagosians know what is illegal parking. You know, you can't just, I take, for instance, Isaac John. People just park on the main. Isaac John is not designed for you to park and just pop into MedPlus or pop into Barman. If there is no setback where you should park into, then you can't park on the road. So
How do you get into MedPlus?
MedPlus should make, they have parking spaces.
They have parking spaces. When you apply for that building, there's something called a traffic impact assessment. And you find that most places, including event centers, submit something but build something else. That's why you have an event center that can take 1,000 people, but car parking for only 100 people. Right. So we are saying we're going to get there. We're going to look at those things, and then we'll start to tell you, no, you can't do that. It's either you start to think of acquiring land next to you, or you have to find an alternative location for your business. Because you can't impede traffic. It affects our productivity. It affects our livelihood, you know. I don't want to get stuck 4 hours in traffic in Alimosho because some event center decided to collect 1 million and inconvenience everybody in that local government area. It's wrong.
I agree with you on the event centers, but let's use Adeyemi Bero, for instance. It's usually off traffic place. There's this lay-by on the road where you think you can park, and written clearly in front of you is no parking. Then on Sundays, when you have events at Adeyemi Bero, of course you have to resort. The boys will start to park you. So which one can we do? Which one can we resort to in the event that, you know, these alternatives are not there? If the boys come and they guarantee parking and protection of your car, which one can you do? You know the JJT park?
Yes.
You can't park anywhere
immediately
around, but even though you see some spaces.
So
what exactly,
there was
which
no
one
provision.
can you do? What kind of parking is allowed? Which one is not allowed?
Okay, so fundamentally, there's on-street parking, there's off-street parking. And then you have the parks and the garages. For the on-street parking, those are those places where you're allowed to park on the road. For the off-streets, that's the multi-story car park, the ground-level car parks where you can park. What we are saying is there are certain areas where you can't park at all, just because of the flow of traffic. There are places where you'll be allowed to park at certain times. And then we take into consideration the disabled, you know, emergency services. There'll be places that are left solely for them, where if you are parked there, then clearly it's an obstruction. And, you know, there are penalties for that. What we want to do is encourage a lot of off-street parking, which means you can go into a car park, but they will be regulated. So gone are the days where if I have half a plot of land, okay, everybody just come and park.
Build it.
No. you have to get a license. We make sure you have CCTV. We make sure that the size of the bays are correct, so cars are not scratching each other, hitting each other on their way in or their way out. We make sure that depending on the capacity of your car park, you have the manpower to support that. Basically putting sense to the structure that there is.
Okay, so to understand this, you're not saying you will be building car parks.
No.
You're going to be regulating and enforcing that those private companies?
Private companies, yes.
Okay. But I want, for most of the parking issues, I think I can see how it will be easier to enforce for the big, well-known roads, the major roads, but then the streets. And for me, I feel that's where the problem starts. Once the streets are congested, it spills over into the major roads. So who will be enforcing that parking is done properly in those inner streets?
That's a fantastic question. So along with trying to regulate the structure, we also want to empower people. And these area boys have a lot of local knowledge. What we are saying is we can't do it all by ourselves. That's not really our job. We just want to make sure that there's a system in place that works correctly. So you can apply as a concessionaire. A concessionaire in Agege will have different criteria than a concessionaire in Ikeja. You will employ those local boys. Everybody, I always say this thing, it's about dignity. I meet these area boys when I go to Issa Williams, when I go to Makoko, when I go to all these places. What they want is to be able to say, okay, I'm doing this job. At the end of every day, I have something to take home to my family. That's the reason why they're on those roads. Some of them are very well educated. What we are saying is those areas that have local knowledge, the concessionaire operating there, you will need them anyway. You're not going to bring somebody from Ogun State to come and collect parking money in Lagos Island. It has to be people that understand Lagos Island. So you employ them on board, and of course, so that there's safety, if you're going to pay for parking and somebody approaches you, you want to be sure that this person I'm paying to. So all of them will have uniforms with a number. Okay. You can identify USSD code, WhatsApp, via the app. This number is correct. It will come up with a picture of the person. Then you know I'm actually paying to the right person. But above all, what's important to us is that we sanitize the system, And to be fair, it's not just event centers. It's churches, it's mosques, it's some offices too. The area where I live on a Sunday, it's a nightmare because of the churches there. You spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to get to the end of the road. That's not fair,
Okay, so this sounds interesting. It's a money-generating venture, really
but that's not the main goal.
which is what Lagos is trying to do. Everybody needs to generate funds, but there's a machinery already on ground with people who are stakeholders who are making money from this business as it is. And I'm wondering how you would take business away from those ones and how you would be hand them over to another set of people to be managing the funds. That's one. Number two is the fact that so as to avoid the challenges we're trying to work our way out of with the NUWRT, where we integrated a group of people, the ones that collect money from Okada, they are integrated into the local government chain, but we still see them, they look like, how do we ensure there's a system that if I'm parking by the road, the person coming to meet me does not look like someone that I will be scared of, like someone that is high or,
like it's out.
Like it's out. How do we ensure we don't have that? Number one, how do we,
That's number two.
Let's just...
Okay, I think I just spoke on the enforcement verification.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason you feel like this person approaching me looks, obviously there are standards that we will set for the concessions, and we'll have everybody's information on our database. That's why when you enter that number and it's not coming up with the right picture, then it's not the right person. You don't have to pay for that to that person. You can raise an alarm, you can report, you can do something about it.
My worry is that this thing sounds so nice on paper. Execution is a whole different ballgame. And the reason why I say that is, for the big streets where you have the churches, you can somewhat regulate and ensure that there's a concessionaire. But there's those inner streets that Mary talked about earlier. This is somebody's house. There are apartments here. They are parking on the road. There are regular shops here. I want to stop to buy plantain chips. And so those are those inner roads. Now, as a concessionaire in that street, how do I find a land? Do I buy a land? How do I regulate the parking on that kind of inner street?
On some of those streets, you can park on the streets. Those concessionaires will issue residence parking. That means that, for instance, if I live in Ikeja, Ikeja might be a green zone. So on my car, there will be that sticker for that green zone. It means that I'm allowed to do that. Of course, we don't expect you to have 20 stickers for all the areas you can only have one. So it means that, okay, I've paid for the right of that place. But the bigger picture is, and I think the governor has emphasized this, as well as the Commissioner of Transport, to tackle the traffic problem in Lagos. It's a holistic thing. You know, it starts from those people that build houses without adequate parking. Yes. And these are some of the things that you can use to mitigate that. It will come to land is our oil in Lagos. It will come to a point whereby if you build a house, 10 flats, and you don't have adequate parking for 20 cars, which is based on each flat will have 2 cars, people will refuse to rent your house. We are going to get there eventually in Lagos. We're not there yet, but we'll surely get there because we're exploding in terms of population every day. And where do all these people live? How do the logistics of getting around in Lagos, we need to start from somewhere. And I believe that's why the governor is saying, let's start here now. Let's start to tackle it. Of course, his themes agenda and then transport being #1 is a key factor in that. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, maybe just money. So if my neighbor built 12 flats and I've been telling them since, let me just quickly turn my own.
Then somebody just sent a message. Please mention to our guests that the planning authorities are not making things easy at all. I think you just mentioned people buy houses that can take 6 to 10 tenants without parking garages. But mechanics are warehousing also. So these mechanics are on the road. I know that's not your area, but they also park cars on the road for fixing. How are you going to do that? Because I don't want to mention my own road. I know a few places that have mechanics on their roads right now.
Okay, so there's the SA, Special Advisor on Transport, has the abandoned committee that deal with that. They've been in existence before we came along. Okay. So I'm sure that at some point we'll be working together to rid Lagos roads of that. But it's the same thing. Why do you feel like you should park abandoned? You carried a car from America or whatever, second-hand you want, and then you park it on the road for 6 months.
Okay, so
I wanted to ask parking. So abroad, we see them where you park your car and you come back and you see tickets. Is that where we're headed?
At some point,
Are you getting parking meters?
Yeah, we'll get meters and
we will be at some point. We have a 5-year plan. Okay. So we understand that the future of parking is artificial intelligence, but we're not there yet. We need data for that. Data is your number plate. So we need to evolve from a system where whichever way you're paying, when you start paying, to enter your number plating. So whether you're paying by the app, whether you're paying POS, whatever, we must take your number plate. And then we'll begin to transition. So from there, we'll go to the parking meters in those areas that we feel the parking meters will work. And then we'll transition going into overhead sensors, where when you park, your database is already on the system. We see your number plate. So even if you don't pay and go, we'll find you somewhere.
Please, I want to ask two questions that I've been carrying over since. Yeah. How do we avoid abuse? You know, because we know that there are cases, I've witnessed a major crisis where an accident happened because the local government guys were trying to collect money from the Okada rider, and it led to an accident, and all the Okada riders gathered together. They were going to lynch the collector, the phone collector. And how do we avoid abuse? How do I avoid somebody just saying that I parked, you were here, drop into my front, and then they'll say you must pay this money? What's the system to avoid that? Well, number two, I've had a story where some of these parking spaces, these mechanic villages are owned by strong politicians that have been in the industry for many, many years. And they will tell you, go see Baba La Baba anywhere that can come and carry me from this place. And it has happened. You know, there was a place, they locked down all the shops, and 2 shops were left in that same place. They broke down every other person's shop, and I was told that this person, the owner of the shop, is a strong, old-time politician. And they couldn't do anything.
I won't hear some people, they die. They will pay their credit.
You know, so like, how can we?
It's not easy.
So yes, you are correct. Obviously, parking isn't new in Lagos. Lagosians pay for parking. What we're saying is that those people that hide behind the scenes or are not seen, they need to now come out and be legitimate. We are legalizing the system. Fundamentally, that's what we're doing. We are legalizing it. So you can't hide under anybody anymore. You need to come out and say, I own this land. This is my business. I am responsible for whatever happens here.
I'm the one collecting the money.
I'm the one collecting money as well. That's what we're doing.
Okay. So now, sorry, I know everyone wants to ask a question. So, for example, I want to have an idea of what the concessionaire should be thinking. So I live in Ikeja, and this is my axis, and the inner roads, I've given them the green tag, so I know all my residents. So Nima comes in with her own yellow tag from a different county, or from a different local government. comes in here and she wants to buy plantain chips. Now, as she enters, she parks on the road. Now, double parking. I, as a guy, I see her, I'm like, hey, madam, you're not allowed to park. She said, I just want to buy plantain chips. Now, would I say, okay, would I charge her to pay for that parking few minutes? Extra, you have to charge her, or would they? I mean, what would the system be like? Would they start charging any foreigner that comes into that street to park, or there will be some kind of allowance of between this time and this time you can park, and this time and this time you can? What would it look like?
So in some places you will have to pay. Some places, like I said, depending on the volume of traffic around those areas. Some places, unfortunately, if, say for instance, I'm on Towing
Street, yes.
Towing Street, yes. Towing is a no parking area. Just because of the way that place operates. You can't park on the street. One car there 2 minutes can cause a backlog of 10 minutes.
There's a bolly seller there, very fantastic bolly.
So you will enter a setback and walk to the bolly seller to go and buy. The thing is, we do these things in other people's countries. If I want to go into central London, I'm not going to say because I'm just popping into Selfridges or I'm popping into something, I'll just quickly run in there and then park my car and go out. I will plan my journey before I leave my house. If I'm paying congestion charge, I know that, okay, that's my £15. I'm only going to... So why can't we do the same in our own country? That's what I tell people.
And you know what I see this would solve? You know, all the roadside markets and the roadside.
Exactly.
So if we stop, so if we stop going there because we don't want to pay the extra parking money, they will move.
At all. No, that's not it.
The Tony you just mentioned, that entire Tony has shops,
they have setbacks too. People just don't like entering those setbacks. And you will find that this will force them to getting into those. You know, is that inconvenient? That 2 minutes. Why?
Then Lagos Island.
Hey, I want to buy Bolly. It's Lagos
Island. I can see the money coming in.
I like Bolly too.
Yeah, I can buy Bolly. I can't stop parking. I said
I mentioned Lagos Island.
Yes.
Lagos Island, on the other bridge in Apapa.
Yes.
What exactly are you going to do to sanitize under the bridge? Are they going to stop?
No.
Are you going to continue? How is it going to work?
I can tell you already that we've had different applications for people that want to build multi-story car parks in Lagos Island.
They have money in this country.
Why can't we build? It's a viable business.
Like
Tucker said, people have been doing it for years. You know, it's just that a lot of people just parking, you know, and then
government
they
is looking at the money.
So you go to Lagos Island and you shop the entire market, like when I was doing my wedding, and cannot carry it to the place. You know, so what exactly do you do? The car that you're hiring, where does it park? Does the shuttle take you? What exactly do you do?
Pay for shipping.
So, no, hold on. As of now, when you buy it, say for instance, because I'm a location. So the Alaru that carries for you when you go to Gorodome, the car doesn't follow you into Gorodome.
No.
Exactly. The car will park at Balogun or Issa Williams, that junction, that you see.
I don't have to tell you how I do it.
But I'm sure that it's not a car that follows you in.
So Alaru will follow you into the parking space. That's what she's saying.
Technically, the same way you do it.
They don't like stress in this Lagos.
And I don't like stress either.
Alaru suffering.
I don't know. It's not gainful employment. I see that wing.
You know the one I would want us to work on? If there's a way. You see those people that stop to greet each other? And help me, please. What can we do? They stop right and they are talking to each other.
When they stop to greet each other, you dare not interrupt it. You queue up and respect yourself.
But why?
It's just abuse.
Why? They want to be legalized right now.
We need to buy them. I want to be able to give them a ticket
on the road to park.
Even this one, they cannot.
You thought your English and fineness. You cannot face down for driving. Anyway, we have to run. Any final thing you want to tell us before we go?
Yes, well, we're hoping that Lagosians will see this as a good thing for everybody. Of course, we understand, which is part of the reason I'm here, that sensitization is important. You have to let the public know what we're trying to achieve so that we get their buying. And then, of course, you start seeing signages going up around areas. We're not rushing into this. We're taking it in phases to make sure we get it right. So hopefully I'll be back here soon.
I think you're one of the most beautiful human beings I've seen in a long time.
You're
like so gorgeous. I don't even think parking, they should have given you one correct parking. Find babe like this for parking. Governor someone will carry you to parking.
I need to appreciate you, all the women that have come from all the ministries.
Yeah, very well.
This is what we're saying we should put her in.
But you seem like you're tough inside, Sha. You just have this baby face, but maybe you're really tough inside.
Well, we'll see.
But thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh my God, my pleasure.
That is all we can take on the show. See how we women behave, and you go to National Assembly and vote rubbish.
Don't mind them. They're not
women, we need women in this government. You need women. Have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.